We're ecstatic to have Kenny Anderson with us today on the show. Kenny, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Dave. It's a pleasure.
Well, I know you grew up in Queens, and you grew up with some very humble beginnings. So can you tell me, how that affected you throughout your career, both good and bad?
Like I said in my documentary, it takes a village to raise a child. My neighborhood, a lot of mentors helped me through, the hard times, the good times. Even my mother, rest in peace, she passed in 2005. But Left Rack City, where I grew up, all those people knew I had some type of potential to get out of there.
Sure.
So they watched over me and took care of me.
So it's good because the whole neighborhood is a family in some ways. But if we flip the coin, how did it affect you negatively? How did maybe the pressure of all of a sudden having nothing in terms of money, but then all of a sudden, having all this money thrown at you? I mean, all the stardom. How did that affect you? What role did that play?
Well, it affected, overnight. Being in 1991 draft, being the #2 pick, coming from nothing in 24 hours, you're a millionaire.
That's right.
So, everybody in that neighborhood, and that's where my heart was. It's something I tried to take care of too many people. I had a big heart. I didn't really think about plan B at the end of 14 years at the NBA. I'll be able to take care of my whole family. With 63 million, that's how much I made. But I probably made more than that with endorsements and things of that nature. So I think I would tell a lot of these athletes, when you do get, it's a little word, knowing how to say no. Knowing how to say no is one.
That's a good point. It's the same thing why they say people, people who win the lottery, for example, and how they lose all the money because they're just not used to it. And they don't realize that the money, it may sound like a lot, it may sound like a big number, but it's not as much as it sounds like.
No,
not true?
Not at all, because you got taxes.
Yeah.
The more money you make, the more money you spend. Coming from nothing. My first goal and my first dream was to buy my mother a house, and I was able to do that. You know what I mean? But the more money you make, the more money you spend, because you don't know how to value money. Because you're coming from a dysfunctional home, my mother did the best what she had. Educationally wise, financially. But she didn't understand. And like I always say, sometimes your family can be your worst enemy. Me and I would never say no to my mother, but my mother was one of the reasons she spent a lot of my money, and I wouldn't say no to her.
And that's okay, because that's mama. But as soon as we come back from the break, we're going to talk more about maybe some of the other mishaps, the other things that led to this, and give our income generation viewers some lessons, because, it's not whether it's 63 million or 630,000, everybody makes the same mistake. So stay with us. We'll be right back with more words of wisdom from Kenny Anderson. Now let's take a moment and welcome back my new friend, Kenny Anderson. Kenny, you said it's that you're blessed in a large way because your mom had a big influence on your life in a favorable way. And even though you came from humble beginnings, she couldn't teach you enough about money because she didn't have the opportunity to manage her money on her own. But one of the issues, and I know this isn't your issue, but one of the issues I see with a lot of people, and especially a lot of pro athletes, is the keeping up with the Joneses element. I'm sure playing pro ball, you have a lot of people that were keeping up with the Joneses. Yeah. So tell us some stories you can relate.
For example, a guy on the team, the highest paid guy might be making $21 million a year, or 15 million, 14 million. And then the next guy, that's trying to keep up with these guys is making $3 million.
Right.
And he's trying to, compete and, buy this, buy that, gamble, party. And it just doesn't work like that. You know what I mean?
And it's too bad, because, we talked about the fact that you were benevolent. You tried to help family members, help friends, help anybody who would ask for a handout, and you didn't know the word no, which is one of the most powerful two-letter words out there. But if for some of these others, it's the same. And it's the same thing true, think about your neighbors where you live today. Now you're in Florida, and your neighbors. You have neighbors. There's probably one neighbor there that makes $300,000 a year. The neighbor next to him makes $125,000, and the one making $125,000 is trying to have the same Mercedes, the same BMW, and send his kids to the same private school. And he doesn't even realize there's an income discrepancy.
Yeah, my neighborhood is great. I'm in a middle-class neighborhood. I must say, I borrow sugar and milk from my neighbors all the time. But no, it's much different nowadays. I think for me, you know, the less I have, the more simpler my life is. You know what I mean? Before, when I had millions, I was just trying to help everyone. I just, you know, wanted to give. And I think in my case, 8 kids, you know, 2 failed marriages. A lot of my money was spent, you know, on my own doing.
Right.
You know what I mean? And because of my lifestyle, my kids are a blessing. But you tell me, you break it up, eight kids.
It gets expensive. That's right.
Very expensive.
That's right. And it's funny because, you know, you might be sitting here listening to us thinking, well, $63 million is a lot of money. But you have to understand when it's spread out over 14 years and half of it goes to the government, if people are constantly at you saying, hey, Kenny, can I have a loan? Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? It's amazing how quickly it goes.
Yeah, it's very quickly. Like you said, I was in the, 35% tax bracket. So you might make, you know, I might have 7 million one year. So I'm probably gonna go home with about 4 something. Then, you know, then you got agent fees. Then you got house, you know, and then you got mortgages, and you got your mother's. You know, for me, I had my family. I was getting allowance. Grown, you know, my sisters and brothers, I was giving them allowance.
Right. So,
So every month, my
That's
mother
funny.
had made me do that. So it's just money. It goes quickly.
Well, come see, I think you wouldn't have been a first-round draft pick if you hadn't had defense to match your offense, you know. And it's funny because in basketball, you were a strong offensive player and a strong defensive player. But when it came to your money, it was all offense. It was making the money, but there was very little defense in terms of holding on to it, which you're not alone. A lot of non-professional athletes fall prey to that also.
Yeah, I think it's just not trustworthy. I had some great people that's still in my corner. My lawyer, Irvin Levy's done a great job for me, and Dick Gilbert, he's been there for me. I didn't listen to them, you know, when they told me what I should do with my money early in my career. But I just lived, and that's what a lot of athletes, you know, are really, you know, hard-headed. You know what I mean? They don't trust anyone, so they're like, no, it's my money. I'm gonna do this, and what they gonna say?
Okay,
so they let you destroy yourself.
So let's take a minute. Let's talk about this because clearly, and tell me if I'm wrong, but one of your best attributes as a player to get that good that early had to be coachability. I mean, you can only get so far on natural talent. So you were very coachable when it came to your game. So why do you think it was that you weren't as coachable when it came to things outside the sport, such as managing your money?
I think when you get a lot of money, then you become, you know, powerful. So some of your friends and some of the people that deal with you don't know how to treat you. So they all want to be yes men, so you can take care of them. Me, you know, and then you're dealing with demons. You know, I came, you know, out in my documentary about 4 years ago that I was molested and abused. So you're dealing with demons also. You know what I mean? And then I know I hid mine through fame and money. You know what I mean? And I held it in for 30-something years and finally came out. But that's one of the, you know, the manchos that I dealt with. I have money, I have women. Yeah, I'm good because I was violated. I was, you know, I was, you know, beating myself up in the head. So that's where everybody else, a lot of athletes they hiding behind their money. So they're dealing with other demons that they must.
I appreciate you sharing that, by the way. You know, it's some people use alcohol, some use drugs, some overeat, and some overspend, and that's how they fight the demons. We need to take another break. When we come back, I want to talk to you more about just other demons that just come from early success. Not that, because that one incident was a terrible, terrible incident. But obviously not all athletes who go through a lot of money have that happen to them, but there's other demons just from the pressure of success. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. Our Income Generation viewers, stay with us. We have much more to learn from my new friend, Kenny Anderson. We'll be right back.